So our next speaker is Sophie Field, who's going to talk about Is Marketing for Good? Good for Marketing to Youth. Sophia is a research manager at Channel 4 and has spent the last 5 years working predominantly supporting 4Sales in understanding consumers for the benefit of the business and advertisers. Sophia specialises in youth research, running the 4Youth project, which includes the legacy project UK Tribes. The premise of this talk is the world we live in is ever-changing. As such, we need to talk to our consumers and change the way we do. So I will now pass you over.
Thank you very much. All right, I think we're swapping presentations. All right. Never know where to look when someone's talking directly about you while you're sitting on a stage. Okay, so here we go. I think as you've already said, I mean, firstly, thanks so much for welcoming me into this family. I've not been to one of these before, so it's great to kind of be here with you all. And also thank you very much for spending your evening underground at Channel 4 headquarters. That's very great of you. So, yeah, I guess at Channel 4 we've really specialised and done a lot of work in youth audiences for a long time. Actually we worked with Crowd DNA when they were known as Ramp Industries, I think, when we first did the UK Tribes project, which I hope some of you know about. UK Tribes was obviously the kind of, idea that not all young people are the same, which I guess we're so far beyond that now. We're talking about hybrid generations. It feels like we've come a really long way, and actually if we were to redo that project now, I think it'd be really challenging. But one of the things that obviously plays into our world quite a lot is advertising, and speaking to our advertisers about what the new trends are and what's important about young people. So it's always important for us to do that. So without further ado, I want to ask you a question. Can I have some shout outs, please? What do you think are the most memorable ads of all time? No right or wrong answer.
Jaffa Cake, Half Moon, Full Moon.
Jaffa Cake, Half Moon, Full Moon, very good one.
Cadbury's Gorilla.
Cadbury's Gorilla in harmony to the... Another one?
Apple 1984.
Apple 1984, yes, very true. Tango. You've been tangoed? Okay, very good. Any more?
Hello, Dang.
Oh, you've got them for days. Yeah, I mean, basically, what's interesting is when we talk to consumers, what we get is really funny, irreverent ads, right? We get Half Moon, Full Moon, we get a gorilla playing the drums, we get, and actually this, I should tell you, is really heavily skewed by our 55 plus audience who absolutely love the Smash Aliens. Who said they were under 23, do you know the Smash Aliens? No, yeah, called it. They love it, but actually when we look at this is our 16 to 34 year olds, same question, what is a memorable ad? And I think what you see really clearly is you do have these funny, irreverent characters, these weird and wonderful ads. For these guys, we've got that Cadbury's Gorilla coming through, we've got, our Compare the Meerkat, which I can see in some of your faces that you don't like. And you've got your PG Tips, all of these sort of characters. And what I really wanted to do is, I'm going to be talking about purposeful marketing today, but I wanted to start with this as a kind of thought piece, because my intention for this is very much to, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, but I want to kind of raise some questions. So YouGov did this research of best loved ads through the years. And basically what I can see from looking at it is, the ones that would count as good, that I would say are purposeful. There are many more of them now in the kind of late 2010s than there are in the 1990s. Also, I don't think a lot of those ads from the 1990s would get made today. Does anyone remember this? Hands up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Belly's going to get you. I'm not sure it will get through, Gen Z talking about fat shaming now. Anyone remember what brand that was for? Reebok, right. That was how they advertised trainers, with a giant belly running at you. You've got Hello Boys, you've got the Tango ad, you've got these, again, really quite risky but funny, irreverent ads. Fast forward to now, and we've got more purpose-driven, more marketing for good type ads than we've ever had before. I think, in 2018, 56% of Cannes Lions were given out to ads that were purposeful. That's up from 2016, which was 42%, and that's increased year on year has increased the amount of those ads. So I think as an industry, we need to ask ourselves a question, which is, are we making more of these ads because it's what the consumers want and are calling out for? Or are we making more of these ads because we want to win awards, right? So I want to do something quickly, and don't think too much about it. Please raise your hand if you would call yourself a cynic and you don't really like marketing for good, this type of purpose-driven marketing. Raise a hand. Okay, all right. Raise your hand if you're a lover and you think it's a good thing. Okay, so we've probably got about 70 in that later. I tell you, I've presented this a couple of times and it's wildly different because people look at what everyone else around them is doing. About 70% of you saying love, about 30% saying a bit cynical. So you guys are the Mark Ritsons of the world, who he thinks, marketers are embarrassed to sell, and why, you want to sell a coffee, just sell the coffee. Then you've got someone like Keith Weed on the other side, Unilever, who, says purpose-driven campaigns boost sales, basically. They boost sales, they make things work better. So this is what I'm going to do now. And yes, I did do my own design. And yes, also, these are taken from unflattering photos of me presenting. So I'm really glad I found a use for them now, because they were never going to make headshots. Basically, this is me standing here in front of you 15 minutes to answer the question, is marketing for good for marketing to young audiences? So, first part of this, and I want to say this is a project we did with Hook, and there's a lot more to it than this, and we did lots of different facets, but I'm just going to give you a little kind of sneak peek into it today in terms of what we've got out of it. The first thing is, yes, young people do like this advertising. I don't think I would have shocked any of you in saying it. I'm not going to teach you all to suck heads and really go into this too much, but it's something that we'll probably all cover in some way or another in our presentations. Diversity shouldn't be newsworthy, it should be normal. These young people today care about this stuff. They, we've been saying it for a while, but they think, look at these stats, they think, being straight or gay is out of date. There's hybridity, as Matilda says, in so many different facets. We've been running a community of young people of 1,000 16 to 24s for probably 6 years now. And even in that time, it's really interesting how the way that they talk and the conversation has changed and developed. Also kind of role models. Their role models are much more likely to be from BAME backgrounds or people with disabilities than they were, even when we did stuff like this 6 years ago. They're also really switched on and they're really savvy. So, this quote from someone in the community, many cleaning brands and food ads show straight, white, cisgender families with women cooking and cleaning. When I watch beauty ads on TV, there are not a lot of people of colour and other groups. They see it, they recognise it, they call it out. But now here's where the other version of me comes in and punches me in the face. It's super cool to care right now. Virtue signalling is massive. It's like a currency. Caring about the environment is cool at the moment. And I think for some of you in the audience, if you think about being 18, caring about the environment was not a cool thing. It was not something that would up your kind of street cred. And one thing I think is really interesting is an example of Love Island. Obviously, it's a huge show for young people. And someone in a focus group said, young people today, they're so woke. I'm just going to put that up just in case anyone doesn't know what woke means. But I trust you'll do. Young people today are so woke, they're such a woke generation, except when Love Island comes on and they just switch that off for a bit, put that to bed, and then they crack on again and be woke again the next day. So, I want to throw that out there, that actually we should bear this in mind. That said, overall theme definitely is that brands should use their platforms and their reputations to talk about things that matter. So with that in mind, I just want to do another quick vote. So we did this thing of kind of a would you rather with them, right? And the question was, brands should focus on force for good in the world or selling goods and services. Right? Can I have a hand in the air for people who said they think that selling goods and services should be a brand's focus? Okay. All right. Hand in the air for being a force for good in the world. Okay. We're about half and half, really. 57% of them said they should focus on being a force for good in the world over selling their damn product, which is really interesting, and it says a lot about those two things. And I imagine it's both, right? They care more, but also there's this virtue signalling going on. So with that in mind, let's look at age cohorts with this question. I notice ads if they have a message that deals with an important issue. The younger you get, the more agreement you get. right? And the less disagreement you get. So 16 to 24s, and to be fair, 25 to 34s are all very engaged with this idea that they notice ads more. So another question I've got to my other self is, does that mean this is a good way to reach a hard to reach audience? What their expectations are in modern ads is that it's not tokenistic and that it reflects real stories. I'm going to say the buzzword that I should avoid and say authenticity, because it is true. And I hate that it came out of my mouth, but it's true. Any guesses, Tam, what percentage of young people said they have boycotted a brand because they didn't agree with what it stood for? Shout at me. Got a 70, 60, 70, 41%. We're so obsessed with this idea that, like, this is everything now, that actually this either goes one of two ways. Either people say way higher or way lower. But we do see it. And, one of the examples that came up quite a lot was we had a lady in a focus group saying, I refuse to buy Dove products now because I believe this ad that they created was hurtfully racist. Right? So that was something that was really important for her, and she said, I'm going to boycott for now. Okay, now I'm crossing over to the other side of the ring. We've got to be practical about this. For lots of young people, this is much more the scenario than, they don't have a huge amount of disposable income, particularly at the lower end of that scale. So, when we look at this, values and ethics of a brand are more important to that younger cohort. I'm looking at 1634s on this slide, actually, but quality and price are still the most important things, and they will remain the most important things. So when we're looking at, I think this really sums it up. We're young people saving up for a car or a mortgage. If there's an ethical jumper that's 50 quid or a jumper for a tenner in Primark, it's an easy choice. And I think that is very true of lots of young people today. Okay, but crossing over to the other side, what about that 25 to 34-year-old group? This was quite a theme. Maybe they're our most valuable right now. I'm just getting to a point in my life where I can make decisions based on my opinions about a company rather than the health of my wallet. Have people seen, the long and short of it, the work around, short-termism? I think one of the questions that this raised for me is this brand building for young people at early stages in their life something that will help them when they get older to purchase more from that brand? Is this a long game? Are we playing a long game with this type of marketing and young people? Okay. Now, I'm going to quickly talk about what the expectations are in this space. So, overall, people are positive but very cynical. I think we saw that from the votes in the room earlier. And none more so. So part of this was talking to agencies, and actually talking to ad agencies. They were the most cynical of them all. This is a quote: "Marketing for good, no such thing. Someone's still trying to sell something for a profit." There was a real feeling actually from a lot of the ad agencies that, they're just shifting product, right? 60% of consumers say that they believe any brand can start a conversation or raise awareness about an issue. And the type of topics they talk about wanting to see brands talking about are things like this. This is what they claim that they want people to talk about. So you've got themes like homelessness, global warming, the environment, poverty, immigration, all these themes that I'm betting a lot don't surprise you that they want people to be talking about. So I'm going to quickly go over 3 tips that came directly from consumers. First is be real, which plays into what we talked about there about, don't tell me you're not just doing it to, sell product, which at the end of the day most brands are. There was a really nice example of, did anyone see the Super Bowl ads last year? Bud did a campaign about how they packaged up their water to send it off to emergency situations. Did people see that? And Stella did an ad about buy a glass and we will give water. Do you remember this as well? Matt Damon was the star. Now, there was lots of people who said, absolutely amazing, like it's really great they're doing that initiative. But there's also a cynical bunch who say, that Super Bowl ad cost much more than the amount that you are promising to give to WaterAid, right? What is it, like $5 million or something for that spot, and you're promising to give $1 million? So there is this kind of like trade-off, and people are aware of it. The other one is being relevant, which I think I've covered a bit, and it covers both our consumers but also agency people. Issues shouldn't be treated as hot topics. Brands ought to think about what issues are appropriate for them and actually what they care about. only 11% of people disagree that for a brand to engage with a social and ethical issue, they should have a clear link. So most people really think that you need to have a clear link, you need to have the skeletons out of your closet before you go talking about your, values in a certain space. And as part of that, not to be random, did anyone see the kind of polar bear Paddy Power with the Union Jack sprayed on it that they did near the World Cup last year? There was a bit of confusion. Actually, when people found out that Paddy Power don't give them money, they felt more positive. But the idea of football, World Cup, Russia, polar bear was all a bit much for some people to grasp. And then I couldn't do this presentation without mentioning Pepsi, not being exploitative. Okay, and the last point is being resonant. We found that the ads that we looked at that were braver, that had a more edgy stance, so things like the blood normal ad, where you're actually making quite a commitment to something, were the ones that cut through most. They're prepared for a backlash, really committed to talking about a topic, and they were the ones that resonated the most with young people. That said, again, crossing sides, all the ads we tested, there was more conversation about where you could buy Malteser truffle ads, which came out at the time, than there were about any of these ads. So just to bear that in mind, to put it in perspective. So I guess one of my last questions is, are we at saturation point? Has anyone seen this Oasis ad? Yeah, it's hilarious, absolutely hilarious, the video of it, people trying to drink from a two-ended bottle. But my question is, if we're at a point as an industry where we're already going, look how much of this we're doing and look how funny it is, are we saturated? So this is the answer. Again, we see the same pattern. That younger cohort are more likely to say they want to see more of these ads. They want brands to be talking more about purpose-driven issues. Interestingly, the 55 to 64-year-olds, 25% of them can't recall seeing one at all. So that market apparently is of no interest to this type of category of marketing. Okay. And just a couple more things. One, a view from inside the ad agency. So there was this huge push from young people within ad agencies that they also really want to work with brands who want to operate in this space. So saying, I wouldn't work with a brand who, didn't have their ethics sorted out, which is actually really quite an interesting thing from within our own industry. Okay. Is any PR good PR? 61% of industry professionals believe that only positive PR can have a positive impact on a brand. So, is the risk too big to do something risky, to do something edgy? Is it too big? There's some examples, I think, of where any sort of awareness builder, any sort of good press, actually, whether it's good or bad, can actually drive sales. I mean, Pepsi, after that ad, overtook Coke as the most effective brand, according to the Effie Index. Nike's sales were better after the Kaepernick ad, even though you've got some people burning their trainers, which I think is madness, because you've already bought them. You know what I mean? You're burning them once you've already bought them. So I'm going to leave it there. Well, I've got a little game before we finish, but I just kind of really wanted to show you both sides of the coin on this argument and throw it all over to you to have a real think about what you think is the right way to behave in this area. Okay, finally, high fives or fuck-ups. Which huge brand got accused of exploiting child bereavement to shift product? You're correct. Him and his dad both loved a fillet of fish. Lovely. Which brand got mixed reviews for suggesting societal issues could be settled? Heineken. Very good, Heineken. And can anyone name this brand? State Street, very good. Interesting how this ad won a lot of awards, but actually when I ask that question, quite often nobody can answer it. So there's an interesting point there about how important branding is. Okay, and that is me. Thank you very much.